You've got it good, don't you? Your work is to look at expensive clothes and dine at fancy restaurants. I'm so jealous. Ever since we got married, my husband, Mike, hasn't been able to keep a job. Maybe he thinks everything will work out since he's married into my family? When the money runs out, he stretches his hand out to me, demanding more. Until last year, my mother used to scold him, saying, "The breadwinner of the family shouldn't change jobs so frequently." But now that she's gone, I've started to wonder how long I have to put up with his behavior before it changes. I never imagined that such a shocking development was about to unfold. I am Sheila, 67 years old, and I work as a clothing seamstress. A clothing seamstress is someone who professionally makes clothes, turning dyed fabrics into clothes. Currently, I work as a freelance clothing maker and also teach clothes making. Besides that, I run sewing classes and various clothing-related activities. Since I'm the eldest daughter, Mike married into my family, and we have 2 sons. We live with our eldest son and his wife. My eldest son decided to live with us, considering how busy my work is. My daughter-in-law, Naomi, takes care of the house chores, allowing me to focus on my work, and I am grateful for that. Though we haven't been blessed with grandchildren, we still live happily together. On this day, a friend invited me to a fashion exhibition, and we plan to dine at a fancy restaurant afterward. Due to my job, I get invited to various fashion exhibitions. It's educational, and since I love my work, I get excited even before going. Mike didn't like seeing me so enthusiastic and made another snide remark. You've got it good, don't you? Going to work for you means looking at expensive clothes and dining at fancy restaurants. I'm so jealous. If you want to go to fancy restaurants, why don't you get a job? Have you thought about the future? Besides, these expensive clothes were left to me by my mother, I retorted, but Mike pretended not to hear. Mike can't seem to keep a job for long. It's been that way since we got married. At first, he said he was defending a colleague or some such excuse. But when it happened 2 or 3 times, it became clear the problem was with him. Lately, he complains about back pain or a leg pain to avoid work and ends up quitting altogether. When the money runs out, he stretches his hand out to me, demanding more. He says he needs the money to go job hunting, but ends up gambling. Despite his gout, he drinks beer and other alcoholic beverages, which he shouldn't. I can't work because my back hurts and I have gout. You know that, he says. I know plenty of people with those conditions who still work, I replied. But he just casually asks for a coffee, saying, "Oh, my back hurts. Can you make me a coffee?" Just then, Naomi came in. Yes. I'll bring it right away. I'm grateful for her presence, but her cheerful disposition can be a bit much at times. Sheila, I know you're going out today. Leave Dad to me. I'll make sure he doesn't drink too much. Thank you for always taking care of the house and my husband. I'll bring back some gifts. Don't worry about it. Her high-pitched voice is not something I like to hear first thing in the morning, but I headed out nonetheless. On my way to the nearest station, I got a rare call from my younger son, Sean. What's up? It's rare to hear from you, I said, noting his hushed tone. Mom, are you at home? I'm on my way to a fashion exhibition, heading to the station. Perfect. I'm at the cafe by the station. Can you come over? All right, but I don't have much time. I agreed and headed to the cafe. Entering the cafe, I saw Sean waving from a secluded table. Long time no see. How have you been? As a mother, I couldn't help but check his appearance and complexion. I'm doing well. How about you, Mom? Oh, I'm fine. But what's going on? Why did you call me out so suddenly? Sean is my second son. When he brought home his girlfriend who was older than him and a divorcee, Mike didn't approve, which led to Sean visiting home less often. Later, Sean told me that his wife, Sarah, didn't grow up in a loving family, making her a quiet and shy person. She's the complete opposite of my eldest son's wife. Occasionally, I would talk to Sarah on the phone or exchange messages. I also hear from Sean from time to time, but Mike keeps telling him to Get a divorce. So they haven't seen each other for the past 2 years. Sean's sudden call came with a surprising revelation. Sarah said she saw Dad walking with Naomi. Well, they might go out together sometimes. After all, your father is unemployed again. He quit his job again? Unbelievable. Sean looked exasperated. Then it's even more likely they were just walking together. Sean seemed deep in thought. So, what's the big deal? It must be a mistake. They didn't look like a normal father-daughter pair, he said. What do you mean? Not like father and daughter? When I tilted my head in confusion, Sean raised his voice slightly before lowering it again. Mom, Dad's cheating. No way. You're mistaken. He must have been with someone else. That's not like him, I said with a laugh. But the timing of the exhibition was approaching, so I left the cafe and headed to the station. Despite brushing off Sean's words, I couldn't help but feel a bit unsettled. Mike isn't particularly suave or a bad boy type. He's not bald or overweight, but at the fashion exhibition, I was apparently distracted. Even my friend noticed and asked, "What is wrong with you?" So, after the exhibition, I skipped the fancy restaurant and headed home. I'm home. The house was eerily quiet. Thinking they might be out, I was surprised when Mike and Naomi returned, laughing together. When they saw me, they quickly distanced themselves. Oh, I thought you were having dinner at a fancy restaurant? Mike asked suspiciously. Naomi, in her usual high-pitched tone, asked, Are you feeling all right? Yeah, just a bit. But where were you two? They exchanged a quick glance. Well, Naomi said she'd never gambled before, so I thought it'd be educational. She hit the jackpot, so we went out to eat. Mike explained quickly. Naomi, was it really your first time gambling? You won so big. It's true. You must have chosen a lucky place, she said, laughing. At that moment, Mark, Naomi's husband, walked in, having overheard the conversation. Don't teach Naomi bad habits, Dad. What if she becomes addicted to gambling? He scolded. Sorry. We won't go again. Naomi apologized, but Mark was clearly upset. Mark is serious and doesn't gamble or smoke. He drinks only a little, making his choice to marry Naomi a mystery. Maybe it's because Naomi is beautiful? Well, that's not important. Here, Mark. I bought some Michelin-starred sweets for dinner. You're so boring and serious, Mike said, handing over a small box while stumbling slightly from the alcohol. Mark offered to share, but I couldn't bring myself to eat, thinking about Sean's words. Mark also worried if I was really feeling unwell. A few days later, I was searching for clothes that was a keepsake from my mother. I realized that one of my clothes was missing and couldn't be found anywhere. It was one of my favorites, and I really wanted to wear it out, but I couldn't find it anywhere. As I searched everywhere, Mike said, What are you doing? It's so noisy. So, I asked him, Do you know anything about this patterned clothes? That was my mother's keepsake? But he replied indifferently, All the clothes you have look the same to me, and showed no interest. That day, Mark, who had the day off, said, Grandma's clothes, and helped me search, but we couldn't find it. Mark was very close to my mother. When she passed away, I knew he felt lonely and heartbroken. He was very attached to his grandmother. I couldn't understand where it could have gone, but since I was short on time, I decided to go out wearing different clothes. My mother passed away last year due to illness, but she used to work in sewing classes. My father died in an accident when I was in high school. Despite working, my mother sent me to a fashion design school. She left behind many clothes because of her work. She had many students who admired her, and I am proud of my mother. Seeing her dedication, I wanted to work in the clothing industry too. I hope to pass this work on to Naomi, but lately, people have lost interest in this, and Naomi seems uninterested. My grandmother's clothes were made with great care. I work with pride, believing that I must honor and cherish what my mother held dear. However, Mike has never shown any interest since before we got married. We met through a friend, so it was like an arranged marriage. My mother seemed to see through his laziness. I often complained about him, and she would defend me, but now I wonder if he was the right person to marry against her objections. One day, Mike was about to go out, saying, "I am looking for a job," carrying a bag. I asked suspiciously what was in the bag. His behavior was odd, and he only said, "It's none of your business." When I forcibly took the bag, I found my mother's missing clothes inside. I was shocked and shouted, "What is the meaning of this? What were you planning to do with these?" He shamelessly replied, "You have lots of them. What's wrong with selling one for money?" I was exasperated and could only sigh. "These are my mother's precious keepsakes. I won't sell it," I said, taking it back. He seemed to want to say something, but I quickly put them in the chest of drawers. To me, these are treasures, but to him, they are just things to sell for money. It made me deeply sad. I realized I couldn't trust him at all. I might want to put a lock on it. I decided to tell Mark what happened. He said, "It's a good idea to put a lock on the drawer. I know a furniture store that can do it." Soon, we had a lock installed on the chest, and while moving the clothes, I found 2 more missing. I assumed Mike had taken them, but I didn't ask since he would deny it. Instead, I placed a recording device under the table. I didn't like the idea, but Sean insisted. The recording captured something beyond my expectations. Right after I left for work, I heard footsteps of Naomi coming downstairs. "Mike, Sheila put a lock on the drawer. You can't steal the clothes anymore." Mark said he introduced a contractor. Doesn't that make him suspicious too? No way, he's just a straight-laced guy who loves his mom. So Mark's a mama's boy, huh? Their laughter echoed through the recording. After that, the tape only captured sounds of Naomi starting laundry and cleaning. I didn't gather more evidence because I didn't want to hurt myself any further. Instead, I quietly began preparing for a divorce, feeling torn about how to break the news to Mark. Where to start with the divorce preparations? The house is entirely in my name. A few weeks later, I was invited to another fashion exhibition and decided to go. I told Mike and Naomi that I would also be dining out, and left the house. Staying at home only made me think unnecessary thoughts, so I thought going out would be a good distraction. I realized my recent lack of appetite was likely because of hearing their conversation, so this time, I planned to go to the fancy restaurant I had missed last time. Despite it being work, I enjoyed spending time with people who shared my passion for clothes. Engrossed in conversation and having had a little to drink, I couldn't help but vent a bit. Feeling embarrassed about airing family matter, I mentioned in a low voice that Mike and Naomi had been acting strangely. In my quiet tone, I clearly heard voices from the next room. Voices I recognized. Could it be a coincidence that Mike and Naomi were in the next room? Her high-pitched voice was unmistakable. I considered confronting them, thinking they might be out gambling and celebrating again, but as I listened to their conversation, I quickly called the police. My friend, noticing my pale face, started recording with her phone. I was trembling and felt like I might break down. A few minutes later, I heard police car sirens. "Which one of you requested protection?" I did," I managed to say, making my way to the restaurant entrance. The sirens caused a stir inside the restaurant. Mike and Naomi emerged from a private room. "What are you doing here? I could ask you the same question. Are you the one seeking protection from your husband?" "No, it's from him and this daughter-in-law." "What's wrong, Sheila?" "I'm just here having dinner with Mike," she said, pretending innocence. My friend then said, "We recorded everything," and played the recording on her phone. The recording revealed their plot. Mike had been fired for embezzling money and was trying to sell my clothes to cover the damages. They were also in a relationship and had been slowly poisoning me. Their conversation was filled with insults about me and Mark, making me want to cover my ears. I was so terrified that I sought police protection. Even after hearing the recording, Naomi laughed it off, saying, "Sheila, that was just a joke." Despite the entire restaurant and the police hearing it, she remained brazen. Mike tried to laugh it off, saying, "This is just a family matter. You shouldn't bother the police with it. The recording alone is not enough." The police hesitated, and then Mark arrived. After I called the police, I also contacted my sons. "Officer, please look at these photos." "I hired a private investigator," Mark said, handing over a large envelope. Then Sean arrived as well. "I helped too." "Dad, what are you doing with Mark's wife?" "You think you can talk about my wife? How shameful." Sean's direct confrontation left Mike speechless. Even in the middle of this mess, Naomi tried to play the victim, claiming, "One day, he attacked me." But Mark, having sensed something was off, had been secretly investigating. Mark wouldn't even look Naomi in the eye. Inside the envelope were several pages labeled investigation report, along with photos of Mike and Naomi entering a hotel together and Mike bringing my mother's clothes to a pawn shop. It also revealed that Naomi had been seducing a pharmacist to secretly obtain drugs, which she then mixed into my food. This was undeniable proof. A beautiful young woman attracts attention. Doesn't she have any pride as a pharmacist? 6 years of school, and her parents would be devastated, I thought. With irrefutable evidence in hand, both Mike and Naomi were arrested and taken away in a police car. The police asked me, Mark, and Sean to follow them to the station for statements. I apologized to the restaurant for the disturbance. Feeling relieved and weak at the same time, I was supported by my sons. Mike and Naomi were charged with attempted murder, theft of my clothes, and Mike was also accused of embezzlement from his previous company. They won't be out of prison for a while. And even when they do get out, I had already filed for divorce, and there is no home for him to return to. It's his own fault. Mark also proceeded with divorce proceedings, despite Naomi's repeated apologies. He firmly told her that there was no chance of reconciliation. And the divorce was finalized. It was discovered that Naomi had a prior arrest for engaging in a sugar daddy activities. Of course, Mark had no idea about this when they married. This incident caused significant trouble for her relatives, and her parents came to apologize and left some money, acknowledging their part in the matter. We accepted half of the money to ease their burden. Mark, surprisingly upbeat, mentioned that he might start looking for a new girlfriend. There are many good women among my students, and once things settle down, I plan to introduce him to someone, but he is such a serious son. Sean, who couldn't visit often before, now comes with Sarah more frequently, showing concern for me. Moreover, Sarah is 5 months pregnant. The stability period is approaching. The thought of seeing my grandchild's face fills me with so much joy. It feels like a dream. Since Sarah has no family, I am eager to step in as her real mother. We have a room available and are considering living together. Sarah, as it turns out, has a strong interest in sewing, and when I had her try once, she showed an innate talent, despite claiming it was her first time. I secretly hope to train her as my beloved disciple after the baby is born. I feel we can get along personally as well. However, I worry about Mike getting out of prison while we're still alive. If that happens, I plan to sell this house and move to an apartment where we can live at a safe distance. Although I intend to stay in this house filled with my mother's memories for a while longer. I may not have been blessed with a good husband, but I can say I've been blessed with good sons. I'm also grateful to my friend who cleverly recorded Mike and Naomi's plot. She's still a pillar of support, and we're planning a spa trip together. The clothes, which the police had kept as evidence, has been returned from the pawn shop. I feel like my mother was protecting me. From now on, I want to focus on being happy and take care of myself.